Are you looking to take your marketing agency to the next level and increase your revenue? Well, in this video, I'll interview the co-founder of Go HighLevel, Shaun about his amazing success in scaling his SaaS company. So make sure you keep watching to learn how to increase your revenue, discover Shaun's biggest lessons learned as an entrepreneur, and how he grew his SaaS product so quickly. Hey Shaun, how's it going?
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you on. Thanks for joining us. So, how did you get started creating a SaaS company?
Ooh, well, this is my second one. And well, pure play SaaS anyways. And I guess, let's see, I'm old. So I was around before SaaS was SaaS. But my first SaaS company was officially a company called Invoice Sherpa. And what had happened was basically I failed. Well, actually, I failed at my first SaaS. And my first SaaS was I was going to remind people to show up for their appointments on time. And I wrote all the code for it. It was called Prompt Appointment. And I showed it to somebody who was really influential in the SaaS space in my local area. And he took one look at it and he said, I've seen this 1,000 times. It's a terrible idea.
Wow.
And that was a bummer because I had written all the code and I was already out marketing it. And I was lucky enough to sit down with a couple of accountants who said, reminding people to pay their invoices could be really interesting because we have a lot of customers who lose a lot of money and some who go bankrupt because people don't pay their invoices on time.
Wow.
And I didn't really believe that idea, but I didn't have much else to do. So I kind of tilted that business towards that direction. And sure enough, it was actually a really big need. And so my first SaaS company kind of took off because of that idea. And it was really just that simple. Reminding people consistently to pay their invoices on time means that the business who's getting that invoice paid is cash flowing and they don't end up not being able to pay their vendors. And so they stay in business. And that grew to about 1,000 small business customers and actually formed kind of the basis for where I am now, which is HighLevel, because I met about 1,000 small businesses and I was able to learn a lot of their problems and issues kind of through that first SaaS business.
Nice. Yeah, because with Go HighLevel right now, it's growing absolutely massive, isn't it? Over the last...
Yeah, absolutely. Way bigger than I ever imagined. Over 500,000 SMBs.
Nice. And what's the sort of, when you're creating a SaaS product like that, that's reaching so many people, what sort of ballpark figure do you have to invest for like software development and that sort of thing?
Oh gosh. I mean, we've been doing this for 5 years now. So we've probably invested, 30 million or so.
Wow.
All in. And that's just software engineering. I mean, I guess all in probably 50 million. If you count, because you can't build a product with this without hundreds of engineers. And you can't get to hundreds of engineers without hundreds of other people. And, the biggest thing people don't actually anticipate, I think, in this business a lot of times is customer service. Having the most amazing product in the world, if no one knows how to use it or can't get help with it, doesn't really matter. So, customer service and customer success is bigger than our engineering department. And you have to invest in all those folks if you're truly going to be successful at this level.
That's interesting. So you spend more on the customer support side now than the actual development side.
Well, I don't know. I don't know the money, but I know the people side, there's definitely more bodies. And it moves around a little bit. It's about an even split because we're heavily engineering focused and it's something that's super important to me. So we invest heavily into engineering, but I just respect the fact that great engineering is supported by great customer service. And they're really interlocking pairs.
Yeah, for sure. And also when you're that customer centric, your business is only going to get better, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I remember, it's funny, a long time ago, and I think this is less true today, if you look at Google Cloud and Amazon Web Services, they were competitors, and Amazon Web Services grew significantly faster than Google Cloud. And I always wondered why that was, because frankly, I liked Google Cloud better. I thought their solutions were more sophisticated and technically competent. But over time, I realized what it was that if you ran into a problem with Google Cloud, there's nobody to call, right? And there's nobody to email, nobody to help you. Whereas Amazon stuff could be, half as good, but they had all kinds of people would help you, get going. And so I think that really helped accelerate them. And, eventually Google figured that out. And I think it's solved for that. But I mean, at the time it was like, we're just going to put out really technically smart solutions, but you can't talk to us. And I don't think that worked very well if you're trying to build something. And so I think same goes for us, right? I mean, you can have the greatest features in the world, but if you don't have anyone to help you, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's it. And if you want to drive your customers crazy as well, don't give them any customer support. Definitely.
Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what was the inspiration for starting your SaaS company?
The first one?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'd run out of gas on really big new ideas. I'd made really bad mistakes early on in pricing it too low. So I literally was the only was the founder and the sole coder and the sole customer service guy. I mean, I was everything. And so it's a terrible way to run a business. It's a really stupid place to find yourself. And, I certainly had ideas on how to fix that. But in the middle of it, I literally got a cold call from a business broker who said, "Hey, I can sell your business, just name the price." And I sort of named a price that I thought at the time was crazy, although retrospectively wasn't crazy enough. And he just came back within a week with 3 offers at that price. And so fundamentally, it just, at the time I was like, wow, this feels really good. It's not enough money to retire, but it's enough that, I could go do something else. And so I just took the opportunity and, and I also, yeah. So, I mean, that was kind of like a relief play at the end of the day. It was just like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. These other buyers came in and they said, "Oh, we know exactly what to do with your business." And I thought, well, that's great. If you know what to do, I don't. So it's all yours. So that's how I did it.
Yeah, I can imagine. Were you, at that point, did you feel like burned out from setting up a business and running it all
Very
yourself?
burnt out. Very, very burnt out. I had customers on every side of the planet. So, I mean, my day would start at 5 a.m. and it would still be going at 6 p.m. with Australia. And so doing that, 7 days a week, having a family, that was very unsustainable. And it was very silly of me to have gotten myself into that position. But I did. And so, yeah, it just totally burnt out. Couldn't code anymore because just so much customer service, so many tickets, again, customer service being important. So yeah, I fundamentally just kind of burnt myself out for sure.
I can imagine. Yeah, running it all yourself, it must be crazy. So
yeah. Well, I mean, but it's a mistake people make early on, I think, because when you're first thinking about it and you don't have any customers, $9 a month, $19 a month, $49 a month, like none of that really, like, it's like, oh, well, wouldn't I want to price it as low as possible? And I run into this now with our customers. Some people want to sell HighLevel for $2.50 a month for lifetime access. And I'm like, that's a huge mistake because, you're going to kill yourself like I did. I've been there. I understand. I know. Right. And so ultimately we just we now have minimum pricing because of this. And some people complain about it, but the reality is it's designed to keep people from hurting themselves.
Yeah, it's very responsible. I think this is one of the issues with being an entrepreneur is if you run your own business, you also have a crazy work ethic, right? And a lot of I think at some point or another have experienced burnout, and it is pretty serious. So, do you have any tips for like recovering from that, or getting through that?
Just charge more. I mean, at the end of the day, like at some point you got to realize like it's either going to destroy you or you're going to make changes. So fundamentally, at some point you just got to burn the ships. And you can't do the grandfather thing because ultimately the reality is you don't want to maintain those people forever. You just need to be like, happy 2023, prices are going up. And what you got to realize is that you will lose customers. But I did the math. Like I remember looking at the math and saying, like, if I doubled my price, how many people would I have to lose to actually be net negative on the deal? And I think it's half, but I mean, that's a big amount of people to lose. And if you're providing enough value, quite frankly, most people won't leave. And it doesn't really matter at some point because if you're going to burn yourself out on it, you got to make a change. So it's better to almost do that And then the other thing is like, if you know that you've like underpriced your service or your product, the other thing to realize, like, if your product isn't worth what it is that you think it is, you better find out quick. And so the sooner you charge more, the better you're gonna find out whether or not people are willing to pay it.
That's it. And usually it's not a case of the prices are too high. It's learning to sell at a different price point as well, right?
That, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that can totally be part of it. But I think the most important thing is trying to create a sustainable model from the get-go, because that's where people get themselves. And I see this actually, in the agency space, the whole, $2,000 plus ad spend thing. It sounds like, wow, well, that's a high price point. Is that sustainable? But in that situation, the model blows up because no, actually, you've gone the other way. Most small businesses can't sustain that really expensive monthly charge. So then they're like, thanks, but no thanks. Like, I pay no other human being on a consistent monthly basis the amount you're charging me, except my employees. And I don't think of you as an employee. I think of you as a vendor. So it like puts a big target on your back. So the problem is it's not just price, it's also like value. So in that case, I think the price is actually really commiserate with the value, but the reality is they don't want to pay that price. So you really need to find something that offers good value for less money, but also as a result requires less of your time, because that model is also not sustainable. Because I see people put themselves on this hamster wheel of, I get 5 clients, 2 leave, I got to go back out and get 2 more, and then 3 leave, and I got to get 3 more. It's just like hamster wheeling the whole time. You never really scale your business.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that comes along with retention as well, right? Like you've got to keep your clients happy, pay them special attention, make sure
No,
you
it's
deliver value as well.
yeah, but you got, I mean, in the agency space, though, you got to be careful of that. So it sounds good, right? But I disagree that it's about keeping your clients happy. Like, I've seen agencies just do an amazing job for their clients. It's the price point. It's too expensive. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you take $3,000 and hand it to the customer in cash and say, give me 2,000. They're still going to fire you because it's psychology. They do not pay anyone else that amount of money. They just don't. It's not in their wheelhouse. You're asking them to do something they're so uncomfortable with. You're going to get fired. That's why the agency space doesn't work very well. That's why the whole $2,000 plus ad spend, I'm going to run Facebook ads for dentists trick doesn't work. It's because it's too high. They can't pay it. They won't pay it because they don't pay anything else like that. So as a result, you need a different model. This is where models matter way more than keeping your clients happy. There's no way to keep your clients happy when it's a psychological hangup. They're going to fire you. That's just the case.
That's interesting. I'm not in that space, I'll be honest. I don't do ads, but as an SEO agency, we have some clients that spend 6 figures a year and some clients that spend 4 or 5 figures a year. 5 figures a year. So I don't know, but I guess for us, we've found that it's all about delivering, number 1, value, number 2, keeping them happy, and number 3, showing that you care as well is really important. And a combination of all those three things has helped.
I find that if you're going to charge a lot, you have to target clients where your a lot is they're not a lot, right? I think the traditional larger agency space, this is how it works, right? You come in, you're like, it's like, I'm going to target, if I'm going to pay 5 figures, I better be a really big company, or 6 figures, I better be a really big company. The average small business isn't going to pay anything like that because, again, it's about percentage. And it's I guarantee the clients you're talking about, they're all really big businesses. They have to be. The average small business isn't going to pay that. And so there's definitely a segment of the world where you can target the top 5 or 10% of your niche and do okay. But the number of those guys is very small, always will be. And if you look at most of them who occupy that space, that's like a 20-year journey. It's really long. It's very difficult to get there. It's just hard work, right? And again, they always have to target the 5 or 10% at the top in order to get those bills paid. Otherwise, you'd run into the same problem. Fundamentally, if you're trying to teach people how to get into to start a business, scale a business, you have to give them a price point that's way, way lower, because it's hard to say, oh yeah, just jump up to the top 5 or 10% of any niche. Like, that sounds nice, but that's hard work.
Yeah, you have to be careful as well, because if you target those smaller business owners and they're 100% reliant on you to grow their business, then again, you've got a target on your back because you're working with a client that's not in a comfortable position. That's why we typically target bigger agencies to work with. But yeah, I see where you're coming from. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, this is why we did the SaaS play, right? Because this is where SaaS is the perfect answer to this. This is a $300 or $400 a month bill, which every small business can pay. It's like a utility bill, and it's incredibly scalable when it comes to every one of those businesses. It's not a lot of extra. It's not a ton of labor. That's the other problem with the agency space in general. Even the bigger agencies, if you want to get bigger clients, more clients, whatever, you're just adding bodies all the time, right? And so if you look at most business models, that's not exactly the best formula for super profitable business models. Like, any business model where you say, oh yeah, to add 1,000 customers, I need to add 500 employees. It's like, oh my gosh, that sounds horrifyingly unprofitable. That's why you need a model as an agency that has a very big profit margin base. And SaaS is like that. SaaS is a 98% margin business. And so while you can add services and you can add people, you always want a base that's way more profitable than, frankly, most service businesses are.
So you would recommend selling HighLevel as an agency?
White label though, not under our brand, under your brand, because there's two things here. So one, even the local digital agencies. So one thing I will say to caveat this is local digital agencies almost have zero churn. So the agencies that walk out their front door every day, serve a random set of businesses in their community, their churn rates are almost zero. And the reason why is I think they're able to get over that psychological hang up. Back to your keep your clients happy. Ultimately, it's about trust, right? And if you're serving local businesses, they think local, they act local, their customers are local. So they want vendors that are local. And so if you're a local digital agency, you're local, and you tend to be able to keep trust a lot better being local. But what they run into is, even though they don't have churn traditionally, what they do is they sell digital marketing, and that's it. Their clients have bought that one product, and now they have a share of wallet issue, right? I'm like, well, why don't you sell them ads and a website and this and this and this and this? And they're like, they don't see it that way. They just see it as digital marketing. And so it's like, what do I do now? And it's like, we'll come in and sell the SaaS because that's a totally different product, right? Those are software-based tools. There are tools they already need. There are tools they're going to buy anyways. That's the other thing, right? Like, what business isn't going to have the tools that HighLevel as a platform provides at some point in their business? I mean, the answer is all of them, or they're going to go broke. So why in the world would the agency not be the one to sell it, support it, service it, and monetize it? Most importantly, make money off of that deal, right? I think it's silly not to do that. So whether you're a local digital agency with zero churn, it's just more money in your pocket for every client you talk to. If you're a national and you're scaling, that's also a way to create a base that's a lot stickier on average than almost any agency I've ever talked to when it comes to services. Because in my opinion, services are expensive to scale, they're less profitable, and in most cases, unless you're the top of the food chain, the churn rates are through the charts.
Interesting. Yeah, makes sense. What are some of the biggest challenges you face as a SaaS company?
Customer service. But I think for what's important is people do things that are super tight and scalable. So it's funny, I think of one feature, missed call text back. I always ask people hey, do you ever call businesses and they don't pick up? Everyone says the same thing. Of course, all the time. Oh, okay, cool. So what if they just texted you back and said, hey, sorry I missed your call. Would you like to book an estimate? If it's a plumber or some service business, right? And they'd be like, oh, that'd be amazing. I'd be like, great. So let's say you did that one stupid thing. How many customers would you have to get for that business to charge them $300 a month? And for the vast majority of durable, good businesses, it's one actually. But let's say it's not, you don't get one, you get 5 or you get 10, right? You just created an entire business model that for right off of one feature that you could charge $300 a month for. And I can show you SaaS companies that do that are over $100 million in revenue. So I just gave you $100 million idea. That's it. So you can keep things incredibly simple, make lots of money, and be very scalable. It's just that I think most people think, gosh, I have to do something amazing and off the charts and crazy in order to really create a lot of value and to make a lot of money. But that's not how business works. Business is about consistently delivering ROI for your customer. That's it. If you do that and you charge less than you're generating for your client, you can do anything you want. Doesn't matter how simple it is, because at the end of the day, the business owner is just going to say, hey, what's this line item? This $300, what did they do for us? Oh yeah, didn't we get the Smith job last month from these guys? Okay, moving on, right? Let's go cut somebody else.
So true. It's literally line by line. What are we paying for?
Yeah.
What's the ROI?
But remember, it's sorted very specifically. I want to see the most expensive people at the top, right? So you don't want to be that person, because there's also fatigue. You want to be 20 deep. You want to be 30 deep, because once they get down there, they start to pay less attention. they want to feel like they cut somebody really expensive. They're less concerned about line 27.
If you were selling something like SEO and link building, how would you sell Go High Level to your clients?
Oh, I mean, I would sell the outcomes. I mean, remember, we're talking about two different people. So, if you're selling big SEO, I mean, think about SEO in general. It's like selling thin air. It's like, listen, we're going to go do this thing that somewhere down the road is going to generate you lots of traffic, but the problem is you got to wait, you see, like 6 months before you see anything. All right, let's do it. And I think that is an insane pitch for the average small business. I think it's even difficult for larger businesses. They just somehow think, God, I guess I got to do this, so I'll commit to it, right? And so at the end of the day, I think what I would do is, first of all, I wouldn't sell a particular digital service to a particular type of to the average small or even medium business, because they don't even know what that means. I don't even know what SEO is, quite honestly. I think at the end of the day, it's getting some links and the right websites and all this, but things change every day. Google My Business. If you're a local business, Google My Business is way more important than almost any other source these days for getting customers, because everybody goes to Google, they search plumber near me, and Google's trying to pull from its data set as much as it can. So it changes all the time, right? I think what I would focus on. Whoa, but I sorry, it's Google. No, I don't. But anyhow, so I think that what it is about creating outcomes. So I would really focus on selling the things that are tangible to the business you're talking to, because the average small business doesn't know what SEO is. I wouldn't pitch SEO. I would say, hey, would you like to get more customers? Would you like more 5-star reviews? These are the ways that those other products I just told you that have 100 million in revenue, that's how they sell. They talk about outcomes. They don't talk about features, because most small businesses don't get it. They don't understand it. And that's okay. That's actually an advantage. You just need to stay in the language they're interested in. Because I think the problem is this, like I had somebody ask me this morning, why don't you just tell people, why is it so bad to tell people you sell software? And I'm like, because the second you do, they're going to be like, well, how do your features compare with this product or that product? And now you're competing on features. And it's weird, because not only is the person you're talking to probably not even qualified to talk about those features, right? You're probably not either. So it's like two people who are sort of not qualified talking, like debating something. It's just ridiculous. And it opens the door for that person to say, no, I disagree. I like this other product better. Versus if you're selling an outcome, I know how to get you more customers, 5-star reviews, return customers, referrals. Well, everybody wants all those things. And if you can provide those, who cares what software you use or how it all works? It's just great. How many can you get me, and how much is it going to cost me? And I think that's the place to play for most agencies. And I'm talking people who serve the 90% of businesses worldwide.
And that's a lot simpler, isn't it? As a sale, you're focusing way more on the results and less of the technical jargon stuff that customers
you're just talking about something they understand.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's it.
Every small business, when I talk to agencies, I talk to them about, hey, do you have 7 tools that you're gluing together with Zapier right now? And they're like, oh yeah. And that really speaks to them, right? Because that's in their brain. I don't talk to them about AI copywriting that we're coming out with, or I don't talk about email A/B split testing, because yeah, those are great. Those are awesome. Those are features, but that's just like one aspect. But what's the pain point here? The pain point is, hey, I want just one tool I can use to solve all these problems for myself, because we all think about ourselves first. And then once I solve it for you, great, let's talk about how you can solve this for your clients. Because you got to speak the language of the customer. You can't go off on some technicality that you understand a lot about, but they don't understand anything.
Just going back to that point, so you're planning to release an AI copywriting feature as well?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Every feature an agency uses, we're going to own.
Nice. Yeah, that's
That's our
cool.
business.
Have you
That's
played?
what we do.
What do you think of ChatGPT so far? Have you
Well,
must?
I think it's a little gimmicky at the moment. We'll see where it goes, but we're going to use, we're going to use GPT-3. I mean, everybody's doing the same thing. That's the most current AI model. We're going to tap into the API just like everybody else does. And we'll put it in the store and we'll have it, as part of the product, just like we have everything else.
Nice. Just switching gears a
Yeah,
little
and
bit.
if ChatGPT kind of evolves a bit and comes around, is because ChatGPT is very, I feel like it's very conversational driven. If it's a superset of GPT-3 though, right? So it's they have it in open beta because they're still dialing it in. So what we may migrate to that model as it gets a little bit more mature, but we'll start with GPT-3 because it's actually quite good already.
It can write code too, as well, right?
Yeah. Write code is a very big thing. Like, hey, write me a CRM. It won't write you a CRM.
Yeah.
Right. It'll write you subsections, but you have to actually. But I think that's a good example of where AI is really useful, right? AI should be able to take things that used to be complicated, or you had to start over every time, or whatever, and should be able to ship you boilerplate stuff very quickly. That I think is where AI really crushes it.
What are your long-term goals for Go HighLevel?
Well, we've created a model where we're minting millionaires near daily these days in SaaS mode. So, it's super clear to me that, when my largest customer last year did $10 million in recurring revenue in SaaS alone, that's the model. That's the answer. Fundamentally, it's about taking this model and just getting it out to more people, and everyone's winning, right? So like the agencies are making a lot more money. The small businesses they're serving are also making a lot more money. Like no one's getting shorted here. And so it's just the right model. So it's really just about, we'll continue to pile on features. We think of ourselves like Costco, which is sort of a US centric model, but I live here, so it's best I got. But we just look out in the world. We say like, hey, what do our customers currently buy? And then we put it in the store. So like we're working on a Zapier replacement right now. We have AI copywriting, but all of this is really just driven off the back of the fact that our customers use these products, right? So we'll continue to do that forevermore. But what's more interesting to me and more exciting is to watch the model, because I see so many people go from that hamster wheel of $2,000 plus ad spend, burning themselves up, or more of even the traditional local agencies who, like, oh, wow, I have a good business, but I really would like to have a great business, but I don't want to hire 10 more people to get, 30, 40 more, 50 more customers, and so we're giving all of these people a different model of profitability that's way more scalable. So for me, it's really about continuing to see that model grow.
Yeah, it's such a great model as well. It's win-win for everyone, like you say, and very scalable. That's the thing. As an agency owner, especially as you get bigger, your expenses get bigger. And at some point it gets pretty scary when your expenses are, towards 6 figures a month. So I like the SaaS model, definitely. What advice would you give to someone who's starting their own SaaS company from scratch?
Well, if I actually had to do this over again, I would. So one thing I really, from a pure programmer standpoint, something I really pride myself on with HighLevel is we've invested heavily on the API side up front. So not only do we have this great backend API, which is not new and definitely other companies do it, we also allow a ton of front end freedom. So you can actually inject custom code into the front end. And as a programmer, that just basically means I can do anything I want. So if I was truly starting a SaaS company, I would actually do something like build on HighLevel initially. And the cool thing is it allows you to get to market a lot faster. And even if later on down the road, you said, I would want to someday move away from HighLevel, you could totally do that. And you're not roping yourself in. But in the meantime, if you said, oh, well, gosh, we're going to need a CRM, we're going to need, email marketing, we're going to need website building and all of this, it's already sitting right in the platform. So you can really get started a lot faster by bootstrapping essentially on top of it. And it's all branded your own. You can own it. All the IP you add to it is yours. We've already had people get funded off of this. We've had people actually have successful exits off of this. So it's a very stable model. It's very much like Salesforce does this. It has done this for a long time with other companies. There's like a company called Viva Systems. They're publicly traded. They're in the life sciences area, and they're like a CRM for like labs. But they're multi-billion-dollar publicly traded company, all built off of Salesforce. And I think we're starting to see some similar things happen at HighLevel.
Interesting. So has that been the key to your growth, would you say, as well?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Being able to share with other people, we think every day, how do we help make our customers more money? And if it's not going to make our customers more money, we really don't want to do it. If it's not make them money, it's save them money. And if it's not one of those two things, we just don't do it. We're really interested in creating not just a product, but a business model and a way for people to actually either start a business from scratch, or scale an existing business that they already have, or make an existing business more profitable. Those are really the way by which we look at our objectives and our goals for our customers. And then also we listen to our customers. We don't dream up these ideas on our own. We don't get them, we get them all from our customer base. So we ask our customers, we have a public ideas list, people can vote up ideas. And that's really where we go to figure out kind of where we're going to go next. And we have product teams that look at their section of that ideas list for their area of the product. And that's how they get the roadmap for the next quarter.
So you're constantly generating new ideas and improvements and upgrades based on what your customers
need. But from the smartest people in the room. So this is the most important part, because we only sell to agencies, right? Because we're only agency focused. At the end of the day, we're not listening to plumbers and lawyers and doctors and dentists and lawn care people and agencies and trying to simmer all of that out, right? We're really just working with the cream of the crop, people who are in market every day doing what they do best. And we disinclude all of the stuff that, probably is very well intentioned. But if the average plumber, probably if I asked them something about plumbing, I would listen to them, but they don't really know a lot about marketing. And I think that's the important part. Our customers are the experts when it comes to that. So we get the best ideas from our customers.
Awesome. And besides Go HighLevel, what one tool or service has helped you the most that you would recommend to every agency owner?
I mean, we've been a remote only company since the beginning, which was pre-COVID. And so I think tools that help enable remote work are important. So, I mean, we've been on Slack forever, and we find that to be a very useful product. So, I mean, I would say that's probably the other one. We also use ClickUp, which has helped us, I think, organize a lot of parts of our company. And I was impressed because early on we had a very specific version. I can't even remember what it was called, but it was basically a programmer dev engineering version of ClickUp in a way. And we were able to actually migrate off of that and consolidate on ClickUp. And it's been great because it's helped our teams really cross-collaborate very easily.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I mean, we've gone completely remote as well. So we have people all over the world. What do you use for hiring?
Let's see. I think we use Bamboo HR. Today. It's tough because also, I'm always hesitant to give advice because what I find is like we're at 320 employees or something.
Yeah.
And so at this level, we probably end up choosing some tools that we would never have used before. And I wouldn't recommend to the average, like, we used to use spreadsheets and stuff for hiring, right? Or we would use whatever platform we were using to pay people internationally, would use some of that, like some of their built-in stuff. So like you can get by on almost nothing. And I would highly recommend that you do so until you get to a larger size, just because I think you could spend a lot of time or money and both on acquiring software tools that don't fundamentally do anything for you. I think until you can pay for a full-time person to just do that one role, be very hesitant to buy corresponding product. And even then, when we brought in, like on the HR side, when I brought in our head of HR, they wanted to buy a certain product just because they were familiar with it. And it was like, well, wait a second, why doesn't the thing we're already using work for that? And it turns out the thing we already had the functionality they needed. They just didn't know about it. So it's really weird how this goes. I find people tend to get into this weird motion of like, oh, I am in sales, therefore I need a sales product and I want this one. And everybody wants their little toy. So you got to be careful because you'll get a lot of bloat there, and then they don't intertie at all or talk to each other. And now you've got a lot of departments kind of like siloed out. So be really, I would say, militant about allowing people to expand your software set.
Yeah, I mean, it can get really messy, can't it? And the expenses add up very quickly as well.
Yeah.
That's the other issue. Yeah, definitely. You seem like really motivated and energized, I would say, in the way you talk and passion for the business,
for
which is
sure.
awesome.
I'm excited. I'm doing fun stuff. So I mean, it's hard not to be.
And is that your main motivation, is because you're having fun doing it, or where does that sort of motivation come from?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's not, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not easy. It's stressful as all heck. But at the end of the day, excuse me. I think when you see the good in the world, if you're like doing good things, if you like see the good in the world that you're doing, I think that's very motivating, right? And so for me, when I see people leave a job, start a business, scale something, get something in their lives that they have always wanted, right? Like we have this cool electric car program. If you get enough affiliates, you can get an electric car. And we've given away, I don't know, 6 or 7 of these things now. And just watching people get excited about it. I mean, all of these things are super motivating. So I guess for me, that's kind of what gets me up in the morning.
And you mentioned you obviously have some stresses at any level of business. Things go wrong, things break, that sort of thing. What are your biggest stresses and how do you deal with that sort of pressure?
Oh, well, I mean, so as a CEO, I would say my job is the bad news job, right? I mean, I only hear about things when they go wrong. So I would say pretty much I mean, unless it's a customer, like, I definitely get great customers reaching out to me on occasion and saying like, hey, this awesome thing happened or whatever. But in general, it's all just bad news. So I'd say that's probably the bulk load of the stress. And I think that I don't know that I do it well, but I think it's trying to create a combination of making sure you're quick to act on problems, but also to sort of keep perspective and not get sort of drugged down by one specific issue or complaint. Because what you know is that you have a great team of people who are trying to do the right thing. And that while that person may have had a poor experience and you want to follow up on that and fix it for them and all of that, you also and figure out what the root cause of it was and all of that. It's just realizing like, intentions are always going to be good. Now it's just understanding like, how do we fall down here and how do we fix that in the future? How do we fix it right now for this person? And you just kind of move on with it and try not to be like too sort of drugged down by that one instance, because you realize that that's just a constructive feedback for you to fix, not like it doesn't mean you're like a bad person or you're doing a horrible job or something.
Yeah, that's it. It's just like an opportunity to improve, fix something, and then move on. I know what you mean. Yeah. It's very easy to lose perspective, especially when you're a CEO and you're dealing with all these problems. And actually, 98% of the stuff that's working, you don't really hear about because it's working like clockwork.
Yeah, that's how, I mean, I think as humans, oftentimes, we're like, what is good and right in the world is the absence of bad, right? So it's like, it's good because it didn't go wrong. And that's a really tough thing because you can't appreciate that very well because it doesn't jump out at you, but it's the bad things that jump out at you. And so I think it tends to pull us in that direction. And I think when it's something you care about and something you invested so much of your life in, you don't want it to go wrong at all. And so it really hurts when those things happen. But I think you just have to remind yourself like, okay, look, life is imperfect and you can't make everybody happy. You just have to make sure that you're doing a good job. And to the extent that you did fail in some way, just say, all right, that's cool. Let's learn from that. Let's fix that problem and let's keep moving, because we just know overall we have the right intentions. We're doing a good job for our customers. And there's always going to be opportunities to improve.
100%. That's very inspiring. Definitely. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming on.
Not easy, by the way. I think that's the most important thing to realize. Not easy, right? But I think that is the way to do it, and the best one can hope.
That's it, and I think it's a skill you train. over time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. It's a muscle that you build. It's not a light switch, and it's not simple, especially if you care.
Definitely. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining on the podcast today. We'll put a link to
Yeah,
Go
thanks for
High
having me,
Level.
man.
Thank you. Yeah. We'll put a link to Go High Level as well on the YouTube description so people can check it out. Is there anything else you wanted to share before you go?
No, I really appreciate having me here. It's been great.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
All right, have a good rest of your day.